Hey, so finally it's a work day and we get to start working on our Shut the Box game. So first step, we're gonna take a walk over to the router and see what that thing's all about, see what we gotta do there to do the first stage in making this game for ourselves. So, hey, let's go. So we are walking over here to the router. First thing we need to know is where to turn this thing on. We got our green start button. Use a little muscle to push that thing in. And obviously our red stop button to stop this thing and turn it off. So what do we got here? The router is designed to make all sorts of different edges. And to do that, there's a little bit here. I'm going to take this thing out of the way. This is called a feather board. So there is a small bit right there. Trying to get a good angle on it. We call this is a 1/4 inch straight bit. And what that bit does is it spins and it has some knives on it that cut into the material. To give you an example, I have some other bits I can show you to give you a good guess at what this thing does. So in this awesome box is tons of different bits, as you can see, and the router can do all sorts of different edges or detail onto a piece of material. This bit right here I would call a round over bit. See that curved round edge? Okay, we would run that against the edge of a board and it would make that edge round rather than squared. This is a chamfer or beveled edge, so it's at a 45-degree angle. This is, I believe it's an ogee bit to get a decorative edge. Think of like the molding in your house around the doors and stuff. Here's another example of a straight bit. And so on. There's tons of different ones in here. Here's a larger one. Alright. So all different bits that you could put into this machine depending on what you actually want to do with the machine. So while we're looking at this machine, we'll kind of walk you through how to actually operate it, okay? So important thing to know, this thing here is called a fence. This is going to help us guide stuff through the machine. And the next thing on our list is this thing right here, which is a feather board. This is going to help us to hold the material against that fence so it doesn't move around. We want a nice straight dado cut all the way through our material. To show you what that is going to look like, I have a piece of material here. Okay, what's a dado cut? Well, a dado is simply a groove that is in the middle of a piece of material, just like that. After I have that dado, what I would do is I would put the edge of another board into that dado to hold on to that material. So next thing we are looking at is how to actually feed the material into this machine. So when we look at a router, we want to look at the way the bit is spinning, and we actually want to go against the direction that it spins. We do not want to go with the spin of the bit. If we did, what would happen is the piece of material that I have in my hand would want to pull in that direction, and it might actually pull my hand into that bit as well. So again, we want to go against the direction of spin. On this table, we will be feeding from the right side of the material over to the left side. The material will come out the left side of the machine. If I decided to go this way, wrong way, if I decided to do that, again, it could pull my hand towards that bit, and bad things could happen. What kind of bad things? Think of the blender at your house. Yuck. Not something that we want to do. So keep your hands away from that bit. Now when you're using the machine, I will make sure to put the other feather board, we'll make sure we put that on the fence. This feather board will be pointing down or holding the material down against the machine so that it doesn't lift while we're trying to put it through. So when we are done, we should have a nice even, straight depth of about, I believe, 1/4 inch is what I'm setting it up for. We could always adjust that height later on, but I believe 1/4 inch depth is what we're taking care of, so that we can take the base for our project and put it in there, this box that we create when we're done. We won't have to use any glue or anything else like that. It'll just hold nicely into that groove. Okay, so we are back and ready to go. Again, we're going to take our piece of material. We're going to start from the right of the bit. We are going to feed it through the machine, and of course we're going to keep our hands away from that spinning knife or blade that's under there. That 1/4 inch straight bit is what it is. Power button is here, obviously green is start, and I'll let you guess what that red one is for. Okay, so as I do this, you can watch and see. Okay, pay attention to how I'm operating this machine, so that when you are ready to operate this machine, you keep your hands nice and safe, and you put a nice dado into the board that you need for your project. And once you are done, that is what will happen to your board, right? We have this nice straight groove all the way down the board, okay? Obviously, big thing to know is notice where my hands were placed, right, when I was feeding that through the machine. I never tried to put my hands underneath that feather board, okay? And good news, those feather boards will hold things in place while you reposition your hands. So if you're working with somebody, obviously somebody can feed the machine on the right side, so we can feed our machine over here, right? And somebody can catch the material on the left side over here to pull it out, okay? That's the router. So you are now going to go put the dado into the piece of material that you have, whether it's a single piece for yourself or it's a piece for you and some group members. Go put that dado into the piece of material that you have.